Hey, what's going on, everybody? I've been out here playing on the bikes today and realized not a lot of reviews out there about the new 2022 KLR 650, the new fuel injected one. I've been wanting one for a while and didn't seem like anything was coming in. It seemed like everything was behind with all the hang-ups and whatnot. So I picked up this TTR 250 and started all the paperwork to get it plated. Had to go through Vermont, which apparently is legit, but anyway. And so I dual sported that out, and literally the day that I was finishing up, I was putting street gearing on it. So got a different set of sprockets, and as I was putting the clip back on the master link for the last touches, and I think I put on the skid plate and everything, my sponsor called, Rusty Reynolds, and he down at Triangle Cycles, and said he had a KLR 650 in stock, the adventure model like I wanted, and the non-ABS like I wanted. So yeah, so now I got two dual sports. So anyway, I went down and picked this thing up, and it's been a blast. The adventure model comes with shad boxes. I believe these are shad, because I do remember reading in one of the early press releases that that's who they paired up with. I don't think it says shad anywhere on the boxes. I haven't looked real close though. But they did a number of upgrades. They did minor things. They did like a thicker rear disc, a larger diameter front disc, a stronger rear wheel, thicker axles, or larger diameter axles. Of course, the big thing is the fuel injection. So we now have a throttle body instead of a carburetor. You can see your O2 sensor there. And of course, it's got a catalytic converter and the muffler and the exhaust. So all that's going to definitely add a little bit of weight, probably the exhaust being the heaviest change. So the base model, I'm told, is 24 pounds heavier than the Generation 2. Of course, the adventure model is probably, I want to say it's like 30 pounds heavier than that, because of course, the luggage, the bars, fog lights, everything you have to add to it. Those are things you're probably going to add to a KLR anyway. So what else? Of course, it also has the, I don't know if I'd call this crash bars or not, but all that stuff. So it adds a little bit of weight. But it's been an awesome bike. I've only got about 250 miles on it or so, something like that. Still breaking it in. Haven't had any trouble, and it's awesome. It's a great commuter. Looking forward to hitting some adventure rides with it. Do some, nothing too tight, nothing too technical, but definitely some BDR routes. Ultimately, one day the Trans-America Trail, the Continental Divide Trail. I think I'd like to do that before the TAT, actually. So those are the plans. That was the whole purpose of this bike. Definitely got some things to do. Got to put a real skid plate on it. They come with a plastic skid plate. I believe Happy Trails or SW Motec, somebody has already started. I know Happy Trails, I believe, has already started the skid plate, and I think SW Motec has, and I believe somebody has already started for putting the crash bars up by the radiators, the whole body. The reason you can't use the 2018s is they do have different mounting points, so the frame is a little bit different there. I know the rear subframe issue was fixed by basically just not having a subframe. It's all one piece now. What else? I know the stator has gone up in wattage. All the lights now are LED, so there's more wattage available. That's about it. So I'm gonna go take her for a little cruise, and we'll see how she does. Alright, so I guess while I'm sitting here, yeah, so part of the other part of the adventure package, and I believe also on the Traveler, you get a USB port and a 12-volt power outlet. And this USB port is kind of hilarious because it's a giant rubber flap with a like a double sealed gasket, and then also a rubber cap over top of the single USB port. All that going on there for a single USB port. That's like freaking submarine proof, man. It's hilarious. And then your 12 volt over here, and you got your fog lights there. And when you do buy the adventure package, all these little doodads you get, you can buy them individually for, you can buy them individually for any of the models. But when you buy them individually, you pay about twice as much. And of course, then you got to have them added on later or add them on yourself. So it's actually quite a bargain when you do buy it from the factory as is. So one gripe I've been hearing people talk about on the press releases and whatnot is the lack of a tachometer. Oh God, man, there's some guy, I forget, he claims he's had, I'm sure he has, had 7, 8, or a bunch of KLRs. I guess he's a reporter for somebody. I've never seen somebody gripe so much about the lack of a tachometer. If you've been on a bike that long and you don't know when to shift a gear, you are in, yeah, you're doing, bikes aren't for you, man. It's common sense. Well, it's motorcycle common sense when to shift. So other than just wanting to know what your RPM is, which is irrelevant. I mean, when you're cruising along, you're gonna shift up. You're gonna constantly be shifting up as you're accelerating until you get to your cruise speed, and you're gonna be in the highest gear available at your cruise speed when you're not lugging it. That's kind of the rule. Anyway, sorry, it's one of my pet peeves. Alright, so what else can we talk about the KLR? I guess we can talk about this nice windscreen I got in front of me. I like it a lot. I'm more impressed by that windshield than anything, because I have a Honda CTX 700 and I got a big old 22-inch, maybe 24-inch Madstad windshield on it. And it doesn't do nearly as good a job as this thing's probably 1/3 the size of that thing. Now, I feel the wind. I mean, the wind hits you, but it doesn't hit you full on. It definitely deflects most of the wind around you. And it's not buffeting. I mean, it's not a turbulent wind. Very fluid. So, good job on that one, Kawasaki. And it's adjustable. I had it in the lower setting when I bought the bike, and when I picked it up. That's how it came. I put it in the higher setting. I really can't tell any difference. I'm going to try to go back to the lower setting, try it again, see if I can tell. But if that's the case, I'll just probably leave it down in the lower setting. So, what else? The rubber mounts on the bike, the handlebars, the foot pegs, and the seat are all now rubber mounted. And I guess to stop vibration. And it's done that. It's definitely absorbed it, because the way you can tell is if you squeeze the gas tank here with your knees, you feel a little vibration. I mean, none of the vibration is bad, but there's little to no vibration in the handlebars and the seat and the foot pegs. I really haven't gotten much over 65 yet, so maybe 75, 80 miles an hour you'll feel more. But I mean, a 650 thumper single, man, it's very impressive, the lack of vibration that it has. So no complaints there at all. We are in the town of Haydensville right now. That's 4 whole miles from my town of Gum Spring. Just down the street. It is a torquey son of a gun, right off idle. I mean, first gear is kind of tall. Otherwise, I would say this thing is stall-proof. Even then, it still feels pretty stall-proof. So yeah, right off idle, tons of torque, tons of mid-range. I haven't really wound it out yet. Still breaking her in, but she does really, really well. When you just kind of gotta pass the car, just roll on the throttle in 5th gear. I mean, really, anywhere from 35 miles an hour up in 5th gear, it just pulls nicely. So probably get away with barely shifting. That's another thing. One of the gripes people had was no 6th gear. I get that. I mean, it's always nice to have an extra gear strictly for the highway, but I think people got to keep in mind that Kawasaki, when they re-released this 4 years after 2018, the price did not go up. The price on the base model, which is equivalent to what the model was in 2018. So you get fuel injection, all the upgrades, you know, better brakes, better material for the wheels, axles, all the upgrades, and you're coming in at the same price. If you were to do something like add a 6th gear, that takes some serious R&D to a degree, because you don't just slap another gear in the gearbox. You have to change the cases, shift dogs, everything. So I get that, and this thing is no matter what. I mean, at 65, it felt like I was barely into the RPM range anyway. I mean, you're by no means winding this thing out. So quit your griping on that. I'm gonna pull over here. So here's the Haydensville P.O. Box 23067. That store is over 100 years old. Pretty cool. Look at the old take home Kern's bread sign. That metal sign looks like it's been on there for 100 years. Then across the street here you have the Haydensville Solid Knife Sharpening Shop. Don't mess with that cat. He's always got some knives in there. Thousands of them actually. So what else? The suspension? Yeah, the suspension was known for being soft on all the KLRs, and then they upgraded the suspension. I believe they said they made it like 40% stiffer in the 2014 and a half model, the quote-unquote new edition of the Generation 2. And from what I understand, it's again more stiff, at least in the front. I didn't hear them say much about the rear. Maybe they changed the valving, and I've never had a KLR, so I can't attest to how soft the previous generation was, but this one is not bad at all for the bike's intended purpose, which, I mean, 450 to upper 400 pound dual sport adventure bike, whatever you want to call it. You're not going to be doing whoops and jumps, and I mean, you shouldn't be. That's definitely not its intended purpose. So for its intended purpose of trail riding, loading down with luggage, I'd say it is plenty firm. I've done some really hard braking just to kind of check out the brakes, and the front end did not dive too much at all. It kind of goes down that initial 2 inches, and then from that point felt really firm. So I'd say it's on point. The rear suspension, I didn't know until last night. I was kind of flipping through the owner's manual. The preload is adjustable and very easily done with a 12mm T-wrench. That was nice. So I stiffened that up to the 3rd or 4th position, I believe, and it makes a difference. As you're clicking it, each preload setting, you can see the rear of the bike rise up. So it does pretty good on that. What else can we talk about? Fuel mileage. Everybody kind of wondered if that would get better with fuel injection. And from everything I've read, according to previous generations, that just kind of going on fuely.com and then reading on some KLR sites and Adventure Rider, guys were in the mid 40s to upper 40s, maybe into the 50s. My very first tank, it wasn't even a full tank. I got 54 miles per gallon. Now, I was being pretty gentle on it because I was breaking it in, but at the same time, a new motor is never really going to get its best fuel mileage. You generally don't get that great of fuel mileage your first few tanks, your first really 500 miles or so, 1,000 miles maybe. So I'm interested to see where that goes. So if I got 54 miles per gallon, and I say I was babying it, but I was also doing a lot of idling, a lot of stop and go. So I'm willing to bet you could hit 60 miles per gallon if you were really nursing this thing at 45 to 55 miles an hour at a constant speed. So if that's the case, you're going to have a good 600 mile range on this thing. I'm sorry, 600, I'm an idiot. 360 mile range on this thing. That's great. Not a lot of bikes have that kind of range. So definitely add to the adventure aspect of it. Alright, home again. I think that's about it. I don't think of anything else I've noticed about it. The fuel injection is spot on. No backfire, no popping on decel. I'm curious as to how much heavier that exhaust is. I don't care about performance. You don't buy this bike for performance. It's never going to be a fast bike. But if you were able to save 10, 12 pounds, which I'm pretty sure you can, I think you could save that on the previous generation's muffler. If you're able to save that kind of weight or more, 15, then yeah, it might be worth getting an aftermarket exhaust at that point. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's, again, you're never going to make this bike light either. So, but yeah, 15 or so pounds that high and that far back, you probably would feel that, possibly. The boxes are awesome. I actually went to the grocery store last night and had a gallon of milk, a box of cereal. What else did I get in there? I got plenty of stuff in there. So the starter, I don't know. Again, it's been a while since I've had a big thumper, but it turns over kind of slowly, but it always starts. I don't know if the battery from the factory, if it just, I don't know if it just, if it never got fully charged. Well, you know, once you kill the battery a couple times, it's never the same. Like that thing's electric start, and you touch it before you can get your thumb off the button, the thing is running. Even my race bike there starts really quick, electric start. But I don't know, maybe it's just maybe I just haven't had a big old thumper in a while. I mean, it's just a big old piston and moves slower in general. So, but you know, it does a couple rotations and bam, fires right up. So it's really not too much of a concern. I think that's all there really is to touch on. Oh yeah, a couple other things. So I was reading up, they were talking about, of course, everybody who knows about KLRs, even long before I even thought about buying one, I've heard nothing but stuff about the doohickey. That's a really big deal, apparently. So I understand the first gen had a big problem with that. The doohickey is the spring that keeps your chain, your timing chain tensioner working. And it would tend to break, and then you could definitely grenade your engine. So they apparently upgraded it quite a bit, I guess for either the second generation or a certain year of the second generation, maybe. From what I understand, all they say is they upgraded it for this one. I believe it might have been the material, the chain slider material might be upgraded, which I guess could make the chain stay cooler, depending, I don't know, depending on the material. But I'm not going to change the doohickey. They push that so hard in some, I won't name names, but certain publications and guys that sell parts, and all they do is talk about it. And I have met so many people, or I'm sorry, seen so many people on these forums with 60, 70, 100,000 miles on the original doohickey spring with no problems. The what was it called? The Thermobob. That's another thing they're always trying to sell. Now I understand the previous generation had could never get the temperature. Either they couldn't get it to stay steady, or it was, from what I understand, it always ran super cool. And especially with a carbureted bike, when it's not up to temperature, you're not getting full atomization in the combustion chamber. So yeah, that can definitely hurt your fuel mileage a little bit. So if that was the case, I really need to look into it more. But from what I understand, it regulated the temperature quite a bit. Now, this one, and when I'm running, I mean, the cooling fan kicks on and kicks off, and I went ahead and got an infrared heat thermometer, heat gun, whatever, thermometer gun, and checked everything. I checked all the different points, the inlet hose, the outlet hose, at the water pump, at the head, the radiator, the top of the radiator, bottom of the radiator, inlet, outlet, and the temperatures are all within 20 degrees. They're in the high 100s, up in the 190s, and in the low 200s. I don't see that to be a problem at all. I would say that's perfect temperature for an engine. So either they've rectified that problem, or I'm just not getting something. I don't know. Maybe y'all can explain it to me, or maybe I just need to research it a little more. To be honest, I really haven't researched it. But the temp seems good. Hope you guys are enjoying your KLRs, and we'll see you out there.